So what happens when two third-generation Arizona women authors who are passionate about their state start talking about experiences, insights, and memories of different places? They don't stop talking. They write a book, and then they start a podcast. Welcome to Celebrating Arizona with Julie Morrison and Lisa Schnebly Heidinger. Grab your favorite drink and settle in. We're celebrating Arizona, going everywhere from A to Z. And we're off.
Now, if that music does not make you feel like celebrating Arizona, I don't know what would.
Maybe mariachis, but this is pretty great. Yes.
I just feel lucky every time I hear that. Go, Daniel
yes.
Blatney, go.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes.
How are ya?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here as always. Yeah. How are you today?
Good. Good, very good. But let's go ahead and tell the people who can't see you that you have a darling little hat on because you are roughing it right now.
Yes, I am in a cold place, and in the cold, because for the sake of sound, we don't have the heat on. And so I have on my best friend's animal shelter hat with the Logan Save Them All next to this, like the two eyes and kind of
that
a smiley nose.
Face.
Yeah. And this is the most incredible place. It is not in Arizona, but I learned about it because of Arizona. Evidently, a lot of northern Arizona animal rescues coordinate with Best Friends because they're in Kanab, Utah. They are one of a number of huge shelters, and this one in Kanab, Utah is in specifically Angels Canyon.
Oh, what a great name.
Right. And sort of, thematic for what they're doing with the animal rescue. So you drive through quite a lot of Arizona to get there. So
I've been to Kanab, but actually two things on that. One, I love Best Friends. My good friend Barbara Williamson was their PIO for years, decades maybe. And it's a great organization. But we rescued Loop, our little white sociopath dog, through Best Friends. So maybe they headquarter in Kanab, but they have little satellites also around Arizona and other places.
They have, and other places. And I don't know where they headquarter, but it is a very large and impressive camp. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But Save Them All made me think of Save Them All, the mall.
Oh, that's funny.
And I thought, no, not the mall.
That's very funny because I was having a conversation with someone the other day because my current gym is in a mall. And it's a reuse for what used to be like in the 80s. And so we were talking about this because he said, wait, you're going where? And I told him, and he said, isn't that a mall? I said, yeah. And there's a gym in it. He said, wait, there are no gyms in malls. I said, there are now. Yeah. So this is how we as the human race have figured out how to save the mall.
Okay, that's the name of today's show. Save them all.
That's very funny. Yes. So
I just wrote it in.
I think it's great. Okay. So we've already done a lot and we're not even 5 minutes in.
There we go.
Saved all kinds of things except maybe the show.
So,
take us in.
We have that great car starting, and then the classic question, where are we going? Which I will answer first.
Yes.
So first we're going to go to Holbrook. I don't know where you are, listening world, and how you would get to Holbrook, Arizona.
It would be down from Kanab, Utah.
Exactly. Yeah. But to Holbrook in any case. And I had driven through there just recently and stayed the night there at a very fine hotel right north of the 40. They've built out a lot across the 40 in Holbrook of recent years. And it reminded me of a day that I felt every bit of the whip side of Arizona still being full of wild and remote places. And Holbrook was kind of one of them. I had been in Heber visiting Kathy and Jennifer. We'd had a lovely overnight at Jennifer's beautiful home up there. And I had a meeting in Winslow. And so I had timed myself, God give it up for those apps that tell you how long things are going to take, and thought, well, I'm going to allow an extra 45 minutes and I'll get to Winslow in time for coffee and it'll be great. And on I drive, and at the Holbrook interchange, where you would get onto I-40 off whatever road number I was on, I haven't looked that up, Oops. But there's some road that leads you from Heber up to Holbrook on and 40. And the train had come into Holbrook, and there it sat. And there me and other drivers, sat.
Therefore sat. Yes.
And to a point that I finally started to look up when I watched, thinking, what the heck is going I don't see any emergency vehicles. The train is not stuck. And finally, after probably 15 minutes, a guy ahead of me peels off, makes a U-turn, and speeds off. He's done. And I started to think, I wonder what's going on. So I think I go to the truck in front of me and say, what's going on? Yeah, this happens when the train stops. And I was thinking, shoot, how long? I don't know. So the next guy that peeled off, I had my window rolled down and I yelled, which way out? And floating back, as he sped off was...
In the thought bubble, yeah.
Yes, St. Joe. And I thought, St. Joe, okay. I remember that St. Joseph's was a Mormon town, and I remembered it was between Winslow and Holbrook. Joseph City. It was Joe City. That's what he said. Joe City.
Okay.
Accuracy here. And I remembered that Joseph City was a Mormon town. Between Winslow, I could see the exit sign in my head, and I thought, well, I guess we're going to go to Joe City. So I follow where I think Joe City will be, and a woman in a big SUV with a couple of kids in back is sitting at a stop sign, and I rolled down my window and I said, Joe City? And to get Winslow? And she, young native, and said, yeah, it's dirt, about 10 miles, but there'll be an exit to I-40. And I thought, dirt, 10 miles, win, lose. But the train is still sitting there. And so I thought, all right, we're going to Joe City. Fortunately, she had not done it in some years. And it is not dirt. It is 1.5 lanes of asphalt, I think, about. And so I kept waiting for it to run out, and it never did. But Julie, I have rarely been so aware of my vehicular ineptitude and vulnerability as I was on that road, because it was very, very empty. Larry's Terra empty. And then an occasional mobile home or 2 or 3 homes, an occasional street going off. But I thought, if something happens here, I'm toast. I am absolutely without good ideas, defenses, friends, anything. I will report that to that end, I got home from the trip, and the first thing I did was repurchase AAA. My whole life, from when I began to drive, Larry, Daddy, bought all his kids who could drive AAA. And every year until he died 2 years ago, he paid for AAA.
Oh my goodness.
And it was the basic membership, but I loved the card because it said since 1970 whatever that I had been a member.
Yeah.
And then we all let it lapse. And so I thought, no, I can't do that. And so I re-upped, and I re-upped at a higher level with Holbrook in mind, or Joe City appropriately in mind, so that now if I am ever stuck somewhere in Arizona and I have any cell service, I have 100 miles of towing, not just 10.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Good
Because
idea.
I thought it is not uncommon for me to be within 100 miles of somewhere that would fix me rather than 10.
Yeah.
So,
No doubt. The way you travel in more rural places. It's very true.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
10 miles isn't very far. You're fine in the valley,
Yeah.
but or Tucson.
Yeah. In more of the cities in Arizona, you'd be okay, but you're not always in the city.
Exactly. And we have
Yeah.
not always been in the cities. If
No.
we'd bottomed out in Fossil Creek, I wonder if even 100 miles would have
I think
saved
we'd be
us.
hiking out.
Still today,
Yeah,
this long
maybe
after.
so. There are probably a good many places where we would be like trying to hike to the highway.
I bet you're
And
right.
flag somebody down.
Yeah,
Like, no, you
yeah.
don't need to take us, but could you go get help?
Just get us a
Like,
phone.
seriously, or send
Just-
somebody back here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as with almost everything, once it's over, it's just fun to remember. You know? I mean, think about how many horrible, horrible, horrible trip misadventures have occurred, and you're laughing, proving my point.
because memory is the master at propaganda. wasn't that fun.
Well, and
No, at the time it was definite. It was many things, and it was not fun.
very true. And yet now we laugh. So what is that about? What in us, even though we can
Oh,
acknowledge how grisly it was and how miserable or angry or frightened we were, we still laugh.
now we know how the story ends,
True.
right? So there's not, while you're in it, you don't know that. You
Yeah.
don't know. Will this be the end? Is this where, something where I'm the statistic and something truly horrible happens? You
True.
don't know.
Yeah.
And which is maybe why watching movies and reading books are so tend to be relaxing, is that you can sort of tell by the number of pages left or time left in the movie,
Or what
that,
you
like,
chose, if
yeah,
it's
that,
not
like,
Ayn
yes,
Rand.
yeah, that there's like we're gonna get to we have a lot more story here, so presumably people are staying alive for a while anyway. Yeah,
Oh, and waving hand frantically from back of classroom. Also, whatever didn't kill us made us stronger. So the Yellowstone day that Lara and I put, I think, 18 hours on road because the gate was locked at the place we thought we were going in, and the heat was broken that night, and every hour I had to get up and turn it on. It's still grisly, but we did it. We got through it. And I think that's part of what makes us smile later, too.
and I'm laughing at that because I've always hated that saying. Like, no, it does not make you stronger. It makes you tired and damaged and hurt and with like triggers. No, you are not stronger. You are
interesting.
suddenly triggered by no heat going off. The next time, but the next time you're cold, you are like doubly afraid because, oh God, that time when I had to be in the cold for 6 hours.
Okay.
So, I mean, okay, in the long game, thinking more positively, yes, probably if we choose to get over both the experience and the trauma of it, then yeah, maybe we
Well,
get stronger. But I've just resented that. Sorry, we're going to maybe be explicit about this now. I've resented the hell out of that saying.
well,
Yeah.
then, okay, we're kicking out today's question because we're already in it. Because
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this. We have had, I'm going to guess, thousands of hours of conversation, and I never knew that about you. Do
Yeah.
you reject the premise, or do you just hate being told in a sort of a patronizing or complacent way, "Oh, it'll make you stronger," and you think, "I don't want to hear that right now,"
Let's say
or
all
is it
of the
some of both?
above. From where I'm sitting right now, and context, of course, is everything. And I've gone through a move, I've purchased a home, I'm trying to sell another. I have churn in terms of career and family change kind of all over in my immediate circle. And so understand that my tolerance for whatever is about as small as it could be in terms of one more thing adding to the whatever mix that may or may not make me stronger. It at least doesn't ring true to a lot of experience that I've had and I've seen of struggle, to reassure someone that, this will make you stronger. That is
Okay.
I see that as of no help right now or for some time.
Okay.
The acknowledgement that I think what's acceptance is more helpful to me, and assurance that that it will not always be this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like that whatever it is right now is for a time, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
know what that time is, but it's not always.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have come this far, you will continue to go forward if that's where you want to go. I think being with the person in the moment they're in, rather than trying to fast forward to an end that is mysterious and distant, is
Okay.
much more helpful to me. But
Well,
I have, again, context, and I have sensitivity around this.
yeah,
Yeah.
clearly, yeah.
Yeah.
And I,
Yeah,
as
clearly.
often happens, I completely agree with everything you said. And I completely believe that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So first of all, what doesn't put me where you are in it is I hope and pray I've never said it to anybody in crisis. And I don't think that I would.
Mm.
For me, it's just true about my life.
Mm.
And I think I've said to you, this is one of the stories you're going to tell around your own campfire to yourself later.
Yes, I love that saying. I
So
love
to
that
me,
saying.
all the things that I at least feel like I endured only by the edge of my claws and the skin of my teeth are now
Mhm.
stories I tell myself around my own campfire. Remember the
Mm.
week that, you know, all hell broke loose, and
Yeah.
here you are. And you got through the time that you were attacked, and here you are. And you got through. And so those to me are stepping stones to who I think is this version of me who's crazy stronger than I
Mm.
ever thought I could be.
Hmm.
And so that's my, it's just to myself. And what hasn't killed me has made me stronger. And I
Mhm.
glory in that. So I'm really glad we've had this little chat, even if
Yeah.
it was at somebody's expense who thought, I don't want to hear all that, and has wandered away looking for something better to drink. So I'm going to shut up and let's
No,
take a
because I
break.
want to ask you
Oh,
one more thing, which
okay.
is that I think one of the things that I hear you doing is claiming victory
I guess that's true.
over, and I think that's something that maybe I don't do so much for myself. So it's a good thing to question yourself, especially when it's sort of coming at your own expense. Like if I'm not crediting with myself with the things I've actually accomplished, and which would be ironic given my fascination and or fixation on accomplishment, um, then I'm doing probably everybody a disservice because I'm less for it. So thank you for
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that. Okay, and now with
Well,
that.
I love that we've had this little talk, and we're breaking.
Okay, good.
We are proud to welcome our newest sponsor, Discover Flagstaff. They run the Flagstaff Visitors Center, the old train depot, which has been recognized by Phoenix Magazine as the best visitor center in the state. They have a really good staff. They have a wonderful gift shop. People there will help you plan itineraries, and there's a coin-operated model train that is billed as great for the kids, but I've seen a lot of adults who enjoy it too. Stop by the Flagstaff Visitor Center.
And we're back.
And we're back.
We're back.
And now we're going to talk about something completely different, or
Yes.
maybe you
and
have a
yes.
surprise.
No.
What are we going to talk about,
No,
Julie?
what are we going to talk? Well, I'm going to take us back to the center of the state, into the Salt River Project area, and into the southeast part of the valley, serviced by the Western Canal, which goes from what used to be Price Road and is, well, I guess it's still Price Road, that is now also the 101 freeway,
Got it.
between Guadalupe and Elliott all the way to 48th Street in Phoenix. This is the Western Canal. And
Which I never would have known had you
yeah,
not told me that.
yeah,
You are
yeah.
a valley girl.
Yeah, the Western, well, Dad was a water lawyer. We have a family of farmers. You sort of live and die by the canal. So, and I might have a endearing crush on the canals. I really love the canals. It's more than a crush. Like they are unsung heroes and workhorses, and maybe, those background helpers doing a lot of good for people, and we don't talk about it much, but they are, not only do they do water delivery for cities and for, private residents and businesses in receipt of that water, but, the roads and trails alongside them are areas for public recreation. And some of them have paved trails and landscaping, and some of them don't, are just sort of graded gravel, like field roads. But people use them. And if you think of the canals as an ecosystem, you can actually think of quite a number of species and activities that take place along any one canal trail. And on the Western Canal, which is my home canal, like having a home field or home court, I have seen, I'm going to read the list that I came up with.
Okay.
Herons, egrets, hummingbirds, hawks, ducks, fish, turtles, fishermen, cyclists, joggers, walkers, maintenance crews, dogs, cross-country teams, frisbee players, soccer players, baseball players, city parks workers, children at playgrounds and their guardians, the unsheltered, and lovebirds. And so,
Wow.
yeah, and this is kind of just what I came up with in one sitting. And, that's quite a list
It is quite a
for
list.
a place
Well,
that you would take a look at and think, yeah, that's Bear Trail next to water in an upside down triangle. Like there's not much going on there, but there's a ton going on there.
yeah. Two
Yeah.
things. One, one of the many things I love about you, you are the only person I've ever met who has a home canal, or at least the only one I've had a conversation with about their home
Yeah.
canal. I love
Yes.
that.
Yep.
And also that you are introducing us, showing some of us city dwellers a secret world that we had no idea existed. I'm not a canal girl. I'm not near them. I've run
Yeah.
a couple with my brother-in-law years ago, but I didn't bring that to it. And now if I ever see one, I will.
I think runners, cyclists get to know the canal system in Phoenix the way that you get to know the river parkways in Tucson, because it's open and continuous space. And so you can get your miles in these places without having to deal with, well, you need to deal with cross traffic at some times, but not opposing traffic or car traffic. And if all is well and right on the trails when you're there. And so that's where I first got to know them, because actually my dad was a distance runner. He ran marathons.
Did not
And
know
so,
that about your dad. So did mine.
yeah,
Well, one marathon, my dad.
yeah,
Yours did more.
he did more.
How about him?
And then, daddy's little girl, I wanted to do what dad did. And so I ran a couple of marathons and mostly trained when I was living outside of Arizona. But there was one Christmas along the Western Canal that I took Christmas cookies as my snacks to get my miles in.
Fun.
Yeah, possibly
Oh.
wrong-headed, and I think I remember stomach cramps, but it was, but I did it. And so there are lots of Dad and I would go run there when I was in high school and starting to run with him before work/school. So there are lots of fond memories.
How
Yeah,
marvelous.
yeah. So today we went to the canals to just observe how much. I mean, it arguably to observe very little, but within that, but the thing is that if you look more closely,
Yeah,
there
it's a
is
rich
quite there. Yes,
civilization.
yes, this
Blending
is
of
quite
flora,
an
fauna,
ecosystem.
traffic. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, let's
Yeah.
break and come back and read stuff.
Okay. Very good.
All
Oh,
right.
wait, coffee
Oh.
mug.
Oh, I'm so sorry, and thank you. Yes, today is a mug that I made for my cousin, Mel, one of my two favorite cousins in the world, one of my favorite people in the world. She married a guy named Bud, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. And his first trip to Arizona, and I hope I'm telling this correctly, he was raised in the South and is a genteel and gracious Southerner. And what he noticed traveling with her through Arizona, because she is also a great-granddaughter of Sedona and T.C. Schnebly, and there was some country to cover, that Arizona names can be different than what he's accustomed to in the South. And this mug has the exit sign for Horse Thief Basin Recreation Area, because that's one of the signs that caught his eye. And I don't know if he saw Devil Dog Road, Canyon Diablo, I know he saw Bloody Basin. And he remarked on that to Mel. And of course, those of us who grew up here didn't really notice this. And I guess in the South, they go more toward Magnolia Lane and Peach Blossom and Sweet
Sure.
Auburn and that kind of name.
Not so many Tomahawk roads.
Exactly.
Also a truly named road in Arizona.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his line was, "No wonder y'all are so direct." Which I...
Yeah, if you travel along Bloody Basin just to get to the grocery store.
And how perfect that this Southern gentleman chose direct, not hostile, horrible, hateful, bloody, but direct.
Yeah.
We're direct in Arizona.
Violent,
So thank you for remembering the coffee mug.
Yes,
All right.
for sure. Okay,
Now to
all right.
break.
And now to the break, and we'll fill up the coffee mug. Yes.
We have a second new sponsor, the Coogan and Martin Law Firm in Tubac. One more reason to love Tubac. It's such a charming little city, and it has a law firm that truly meets every need an attorney can provide. Real estate transactions, wills and probate, agricultural law, international transactions. They have worked together for decades. They are salt of the earth, brilliant people, and I cannot recommend Coogan and Martin more highly.
Welcome back, and we get to hear Julie read first. So you are reading?
I'm reading first a poem that I called Tributaries. And so because I was thinking about canals and how they are arguably, because they're fed at least partly by rivers, and then flow back into them or take tailwater and take river water back into the water supply and into other sources, was thinking about tributaries and then a tribute to the canal. And so this is me having fun with language. But here we go. A canal is a course. A course carries flow. Flow carries feeling. A feeling is a place. A place, a store. A store brings returns. Returns mean restocking. Restocking has costs. Costs are trades. Trades expose power. Power is costly. Costs stock as debt. Debt returned is shortage. Shortage stored is deficit. Deficit places feeling in a hard course of lessons. Canals among the tributaries, teaching. All flows are creatures of source, connection, delivery, and management.
Wow. Do you know
That's
you
today.
brought every bit of my intellectual capacity to the forefront to digest that?
Well,
That
this
was
is a lot of links to try too. And
It
so
is.
as one who prefers poems on the page, this is one that I probably would have, like at line 5, thought, we'll just listen to the nice sounds if there are any. I don't know that I would have followed either.
I stayed with you. I did.
Yeah,
And
well done.
that was poetic gymnastics. That was a triple flip. That was a lot of very deft construction and execution.
Well, thanks for that.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you made me grow just a little, I think. I'm a little stronger.
Oh boy, here we go. Yeah. Well done. Well done, you.
Well, I have something pretty superficial compared to that, but it actually isn't superficial. I've written for, God, most of my life. And this may be my all-time favorite quote from any book.
Oh, wow.
This was 2005, Calling Arizona Home with Fred Duvall. We co-authored that, and he
Nice.
came to me and said, I want to write about communitarianism. Can we do this together? And we did. Do it, we did. Our biggest takeaway, because what he wanted to examine is who lives in Arizona, where, and why.
Nice.
Who chooses these places. And one of the things that we learned, our working title for the book was We're Not Texas, because there are places, and we count Texas among them, where people have an extremely strong identification with where they're from. I'm a Texan, and that says a lot to them and to others about how they define themselves. San Francisco has, a lot of places have a sense of place, but Arizona is arguably kind of a rental state. We have what's called
For
churn.
many. Yes, churn. Yes.
For every 3 who move in, 2 move out. And I think that partly it speaks to the whole Western ethos of, I'm going to go somewhere else and it's going to be better. And for 2 out of 3, it isn't. and they end up moving on because
Or
they thought the
it's
place would fix them or give them something it did not. So
or it's on the way to something. Phoenix
or
has been a very on the way market. Like you're not going to get transferred to wherever it is you want to be until you do a stint in Phoenix or something
excellent
like
point
this.
as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
also part
yeah.
of the church.
And I don't know if that is still true now. Phoenix has grown up and grown up fast, not only in terms of volume, but in terms of, I think, sophistication and
Amenities,
market share. And so, yeah, so it'd
incomes.
be
Yeah.
interesting to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
But
I bet it's not. I bet Phoenix is a lot more settled. In any case, at the time,
yes.
we were looking at who lives where and why. And both of us agreed in conversation that we would have probably thought, if I were to get a second home, I would want Prescott,
Mm,
Sedona, or Flagstaff.
okay.
And those were the least happy places. I think because
Oh.
we finally realized a lot of people have second homes, or
Mm,
they have brought money from somewhere else and they have very specific expectations of what they want in their new
out of
home
this place.
and are
Yeah.
therefore frequently frustrated, disappointed, exasperated, whatever. The happiest
Interesting.
residents were in Yuma, Casa Grande, and Holbrook. They loved. Now, I'm
Isn't
sure
that
there are
something?
unhappy people there as well,
Sure,
but
yeah.
in terms of who we spoke with, they loved their lives. And so we realized they found or grew up with community in a way
Oh,
that newcomers
yes.
to Sedona, Flagstaff, and Prescott
Mm-hmm.
probably haven't encountered. And so this quote is from one of those very happy Holbrook residents, a woman named Esther Stang. And she was a teacher most of her life there and said, it's the people who make it home. And so
Nice.
her husband had been the high school coach. And even though she was widowed, still every summer, some boys of various ages, probably men, maybe with kids, would mow her lawn. And so the
Oh,
quote that I loved is from Esther Stang, and it is this: my husband was from Hawaii. He said he would move here and live with me all the days of my life as long as I learned to cook Hawaiian food. I did. We would go to Hawaii to visit every year. After we came home, we would sit outside in our backyard and watch the sunset, and my husband would say, now this is paradise.
oh,
And Julie,
wonderful.
every time I go to Holbrook, I walk on the cracked sidewalks next to the kind of sad houses, and I try to look through Esther's
Yep.
eyes, and I never get there
Yeah.
because it is not my community. But
Mm-hmm.
I also, and the other day when I was there and I checked into my hotel and I walked outside and the sun was setting, and I thought, okay, I'm as close as I'll ever come to seeing
Mm-hmm.
what Esther saw. I'd been in New Mexico. I was home. And I thought, and I took a photo of this empty land with the sun. And I thought, yes, Arizona, yes.
Well, and that is also, I think that's living right when home is your paradise.
Beautiful
Boy, have you
point.
done a lot right.
Beautiful point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially when you've known Hawaii as home. And
Which is about
I
as
mean,
opposite from Arizona as most places
it
could possibly be.
it is, although, I mean, life as a native Hawaiian is not life as a visitor at a resort. These are different things.
Very true
So,
too.
but
Yeah.
but how wonderful for that couple that home was paradise.
Yeah.
Thank you, Esther. Well done.
Thank you, Esther. Well,
Yes.
yeah. May we live to celebrate Arizona another day.
Yes, and thank you, Lisa, for bringing us Esther and bringing us again, and to Fred, that you two were celebrating Arizona long before we knew it was a thing.
Before we knew we were going to get to do it this way.
Yes,
And remember that he calls you one of his favorite women as well. So here's to Fred and to Esther.
That's a huge compliment. Yes, to favorite and happy Arizonans. Thank you.
Amen.
Yes.
All right. See you next time.
Okay, sounds good. Bye.
We'd really like to hear from you about anything this show led you to think about. write to us at celebratingaz.com. The wizard behind making a conversation into a podcast is Tom Heidinger. The music comes from Daniel Blatney. And I'm Dana Cooper.